Yuji Itadori is a very special case when it comes to a main character in an anime. You see, usually main characters in animes have some sort of unique or overpowered ability that makes them immensely powerful. Some examples include Naruto having Kurama, Luffy having the Gum Gum Fruit, Ichigo having literally every bloodline in the entire series, and so on and so forth. However, Yuji is the outlier here because unlike those main characters, he never possessed any sort of special ability that made him stand out. However, with us entering the last stage of Jujutsu Kaisen, it seems like Yuji has transformed from a character with no curse techniques whatsoever into a character who is now a bundle of abilities and has more techniques than everyone else around him. So, let's talk about all the techniques that Yuji has accumulated so far in the story. Now, as I previously mentioned, Yuji never had any curse technique. And in chapter 12, Gojo in fact states that Yuji is unable to use Jujutsu at all, and this stays true for majority of the story of Jujutsu Kaisen. For 200 chapters straight, all Yuji is relying on is hand-to-hand combat, and his main technique is Black Flash, which no character in the series can even control. All Yuji has is hand-to-hand abilities, and this makes him really fall behind compared to the rest of the cast because you have people who have domain expansions, people who have insanely powerful curse techniques. Meanwhile, Yuji, being the main character, has none of that, so he pales in comparison to other characters in the story. However, this all changes in chapter 216. You see, in the chapters prior, Sukuna had taken over Megumi's body and was forced to fight Itadori. And chapter 216 takes place after the fight, and we see Sukuna examine his hand, and he notices that he has the tiniest cut on his fingers, and we actually get a close-up of this cut. Now, I know this may seem insignificant, like why are we supposed to care about the tiniest paper cut that Sukuna got on his finger? However, this all points towards Yuji actually learning Sukuna's curse technique and now his body possessing it and him using it subconsciously. And the thing is, Akutami purposefully zooms in on this cut on Sukuna's finger for us, the audience, to notice that it's there. And this is further backed up by Gojo stating in chapter 12 that over time, Yuji's body will learn Sukuna's curse technique. So it seems like this was our very first hint at Yuji now possessing Cleave and Dismantle. So it's pretty safe to say that Yuji already has one curse technique by chapter 216 to put under his belt. Flash forward to chapter 222 and we see Itadori and Kusakabe training. However, we get an interesting piece of dialogue between the two because Itadori says, "Mastered already Itadori," to Kusakabe, and Kusakabe responds by saying yes, as if he is the student. And this practically confirms that Yuji has a soul swapping ability, and he was able to swap souls with himself and Kusakabe. We see way more of this soul swapping or soul interfering ability that Yuji possesses in chapter 244, where he lands his first hit on Sukuna and Sukuna's entire soul begins to shake, and Sukuna even questions, "What is this?" And then in chapter 250, Sukuna confirms that Yuji's punches are targeting the soul, and every time Yuji lands a punch, the bond between him and Megumi begins to weaken. And then in chapter 251, we actually see Yuji be able to interact with Sukuna's soul and then interact with Megumi's soul inside of Sukuna. So Yuji definitely has a soul altering and swapping ability. However, is this a curse technique? And my honest opinion is no, it is not. And we've seen Yuji have this ability all the way back when he fought Mahito for the first time and was able to harm Mahito by interacting with his soul. Now, back then, Yuji was only able to interact with the soul in order to damage other people. However, it seems like his depth of knowledge has expanded so much since then. He is now literally able to swap souls and bodies with people. So another ability that Yuji can add to the list is soul swapping. This guy already has two abilities, not two curse techniques I would say, but two abilities, which is still usually a lot more than any other person in the series is supposed to have. However, that is not all that Yuji has, because what if I told you that Yuji has a third main ability, and that main ability is his main curse technique. In chapter 247, Sukuna is fighting Higuruma one-on-one, and that's when he randomly gets hit by a piercing blood attack. Now, we as an audience, and even Sukuna, just automatically assumes that this was Choso firing out this attack. However, the chapter prior, Choso got completely annihilated by Sukuna, and he was nowhere to be seen around Higuruma. So there is practically no chance that piercing blood could have been Choso. In fact, the only other person who was around Higuruma and Sukuna at the time was Yuji Itadori. And then Yuji's blood manipulation is finally confirmed to us in chapter 251, where Yuji spits blood onto Sukuna's face, and then a few pages later is able to make said blood erupt, causing an explosion. And this also practically confirms that the piercing blood we saw in chapter 247 was in fact Yuji Itadori's. And this makes a ton of sense considering that Choso is Yuji's brother, and Choso also possesses blood manipulation, so it would only make sense for Yuji's main curse technique to be blood manipulation. So let us sum up all of the abilities Yuji has shown us so far. He is implied and hinted to have Sukuna's cleave and dismantle technique. He is also shown to have soul swap and soul manipulation, and he is confirmed to have blood manipulation. This main character, who had zero jujutsu, who was not able to use jujutsu at all for majority of the series, now has more techniques and abilities than majority of the people in Jujutsu Kaisen. Yuji is finally getting his main character spotlight. And with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what other videos you guys want to see in the future. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.